I'm going to show you how to draw professional quality box plots using a tool that's available on the internet. The data that we're going to be used is contained in this Excel workbook. This is the one that's provided with your Test 2 task write-up instructions. We're not going to use this data set here about the prices of family dwellings in Cooma. That's the data set that you're going to use to create charts for your task write-up. But on the second worksheet here, I have some practice data, and that's what we'll be using. This is data about breaks in wool that's being woven. This will be familiar to you from the first test, but in this case, we have two variables. We have a categorical variable, which is the tension that the wool was woven under, low, medium, and high, and then we have a quantitative variable, which is the number of breaks. The tool that we're going to use is called BoxPlotR. This was developed following a series of articles and editorials in Nature Methods journal. That's a journal which is a companion to Nature, which is the world's leading science journal. You might want to look at some of the articles. There are references here to them to give you some idea of the importance of being able to use box plots properly. But to create the box plots, we go to the second tab here, which says Data Upload. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get our data into a shape that can be pasted into this tool. So I'll show you how to do that. So the data as it comes to us, if we look at it, what we see is it's in tidy format, which is good. We need to think about sorting it. So you'll see that we have the first row there is a test at low tension with 29 breaks. Then we have one at medium tension with 39 breaks. Next one is low with 44. What we need to do with our data is we need to organize it into three columns. So we need a column for low tension, a column for medium tension, and a column for high tension. So these are the three categories of our categorical variable. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the values for each categorical variable, the values of breaks of the quantitative variable, underneath. So to carry this out, we need to sort this table. Because it's a tidy table and it's surrounded by empty space, it means it will sort sensibly in Excel. So I'll just click A to Z. Now that will sort it alphabetically. So we'll need to scroll down here and start by copying the low data. So just make sure we've actually got all of it. And we'll paste that there. Now, if you're familiar with filters in Excel, you could make this a little bit easier by using filters, but I won't go into that here. Next, we want medium. And we copy. And finally, we get the high tension data. Okay. Now, you'll notice that these variables are of different lengths. That's not unusual. What we're going to do is just highlight a whole lot like this. The BoxPlot tool is clever enough to take care of the empty cells down there. So we just copy that, and then we go around to our tool. Now we're going to paste data. There are ways of uploading data, but I won't deal with those here. Now when you copy data from Excel spreadsheets, and this is true of other spreadsheet software that I've worked with, it separates the columns with tabs. So you need to click tab there, and then you can just paste in your data. And you'll see it comes up on the right hand side here. And you just do a little reality check on that, make sure it looks the same as what you have in the spreadsheet. It goes down to, should be 22, yeah, okay. So that's the data's in there. Now once you've done that, it creates an initial set of box plots. And they're fine to use as they are, but we're going to check a few things and make some changes and refinements to them, and I want you to do that as well for your task write-up. You'll also notice that it provides a table of some box plot statistics down here. So it tells you what the upper whisker is for each box plot, the third quartile, median, and so on, and the number of data points. Now let's go through the settings on the left-hand side here. We just leave that as BoxPlot. It does do a couple of other types of plots, but we're not concerned with those. Then we go down, now there's one here that says definition of whisker extent. So just click on that, and by default it says Tukey, and that's what you want. That's the canonical box plot. So make sure the other two aren't clicked, just stay with our friend Tukey. Next, if we go down, is you have the opportunity of adding sample means. I would suggest you do that. Okay, so for your task write-up, add the sample mean. So what you now have is the thick horizontal line there, that's the median, and then you have a little cross to show where the mean is. Forget about notches. Now we come to colors. So the way colors work in this tool is you can specify them in two different ways. So you can specify them in what's known as hex format, but we won't worry about that here. That's useful to know about if you were preparing these for a corporate publication, for example. You're very likely to be told what the organizations or the publication's color scheme is, and you might be told what colors to use, and very commonly you'll be told by what they'll give you is a set of hex RGB numbers, and you can put those in there, but we won't use that. What I'm going to suggest you do is you choose colors from this little set here. So this is a kind of basic set of colorblind friendly colors. And you'll see looking at them, they're fairly similar to the default colors that modern versions of Excel uses. So these have names, and I've got the names of them next to them there. These are names that are taken from the R statistical language, which our tool is based on. So what I'm going to do, just to show you how it works, is I'll put in some colors. So we'll go with hot pink 3, yellow 2, and turquoise 3. And you'll see that's now changed the colors. So I've got, like, there's the colorblind friendly list there, and I've also got a link down here that will take you to a huge list, I think about 657 different named colors that you could use. I don't mind what you do with your task write-up. Strictly speaking, you don't really need to use color in this situation, but if you want to, you're welcome to. Okay, so that's the colors. Now what I suggest you do is you just go down here and change it from vertical to horizontal. So I want you to produce horizontal box plots for me. So you'll see it's just turned them around. And then there's a couple of other things we should just check. So one is the x-axis range. So when you look at this, you'll see that your largest point is at about 100. That's an outlier there. But you'll see that the x-axis stops at 20, and I'd like it to go to 0 in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 there, a comma, and then 100. fix the x-axis for us. And then the last thing is to think about putting in some labels. So you have here a button you can tick to modify labels and title. So I'll put in an x-axis label. I'll just call that brakes. And then I won't use a y-axis label. We don't really need that, but I'll put in a title. Okay. So what that's done is it's put in what we call a main title at the top, and I put in an x-axis title, and I think that's enough. So you've got nice, clean, canonical box plots there showing the outliers. You've got the median and the mean, and then if you go to the next tab, you'll see it has this thing called BoxPlot description for figure legend. So this is some text that's generated that you could use if you wanted to, if you were putting this chart into a report to explain what it means. So it tells you that the center lines show the medians, the box limits indicate the 25th and 75th percentiles, that's Q1 and Q3, as determined by R software. Whiskers extend 1.5 times the interquartile range, and so on. You should be familiar with all of that. And it tells you the crosses represent the sample means. So that's quite a useful thing to have there, can save you a little bit of time. Now, the last thing is just how do you get this into a document? So you've got three kinds of output here, and you always have the option of just taking a screenshot. For most, I think if you're using this in a Word document, you can try downloading an SVG file. You'll be able to import or paste that into a Word document, and then you can click on it and you can ungroup it and then to some extent edit it in Word or PowerPoint if you want to. Certainly in the Mac version of Microsoft Office you can just import PDF files, and that would be my first choice because PDF is a pretty standard graphics format, and if you're preparing charts for a report that is going to graphic designers and printers and so on, PDF tends to be their preferred format these days. An alternative to PDF is this thing called EPS, encapsulated PostScript, but unless you know what that is and how to use it, I wouldn't worry about it. And that really is the end of the story. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to produce something that looks like this. You can choose the colors. You can come up with appropriate labels for the x-axis and for the chart. And but just make sure that you do it correctly. And remember to use the BoxPlot statistics to just do a reality check to make sure that you've done things correctly. I've put in the task write-up instructions, I've put the BoxPlot statistics that you should expect to get from the data set that you'll be using.